Welcome to Subramani. Almost all of us know what all to do with our finances. So here I am trying to tell you that all of us can love stocks, can buy them, sell them, whatever. But that is not as important as organizing your personal finance, right? So it's easy for us to say, oh, I bought the share, it went up 10x, 20x, whatever, right? So 4x, 5x. So it's quite common these days. Nobody loses money in the markets except whatever SEBI says. So, but I'm still saying what should be the sequence, what should be step 1, step 2, step 3 of your personal finance. So first, personal finance thing, get your name to be in correct name in whatever documents you have, whether it's your PAN card, Aadhaar card, passport, school living certificate, bank account. All this you have to get it right. Bank account, why did I not say mutual funds? Because mutual fund while investing will pick the name from your PAN card. So if your PAN card is right, your mutual fund will be right. But in your bank, you can write your name differently than what is there in your PAN card. But it makes sense to write exactly the way it appears in your bank, in your PAN card, even in your bank statement. If you had opened a bank account much earlier and then you got your name changed, if I got my name changed from PV Subramaniam on my PAN card to Pathamadai Vishwanath Subramaniam on my PAN card, I have got to change my bank account. So first thing, get your life organized. If you were young, maybe you were 21, 22 and you started investing, good chance that your mother would be the nominee. If your mother is still around, great, but find out whether you need to change the nominee from your mother because she can't sign anymore or things like that, and should you make your wife the nominee. Just find out if it is good. If it is good as continuing with your mother as a nominee, that's fine, but if it has to be changed, make changes. So getting all these small irritants organized is very important. So getting the right nomination, etc., is important. Then you take insurance, both health insurance and medical and life insurance. Health insurance, even if you have company given health insurance, take a small health insurance policy in your name. Even if you have term insurance given by the company, take a small term insurance in your personal capacity. These are company can suddenly say from tomorrow we are not paying the premium for the group term insurance or the medical insurance. Companies are capable of saying you could change your job, the new company may not have. So if you think it is appropriate that you need insurance, if your parents are rich and they are not dependent on you financially, you don't need any any life insurance. I am very clear about that, right? So unless you borrow, if you are borrowing money to buy a house, then you need term insurance because you don't want your parents to run around looking for money to pay the EMI. So then that insurance can help. So if you don't have loans, don't bother. And if you don't have loans and you have rich parents, don't bother about taking insurance. You can always take it later on. Make sure that the spending that you do is in alignment with your values rather than what your friends do. So if you are not very comfortable drinking, you don't have to drink. So you can afford it. I'm not even asking whether you can afford it. You can afford it. But if it is not in your value system, don't do it. Because many people I know who said I don't drink suddenly tell me also, sir, I don't drink, but I realize after some time the amount of money that it costs to drink. So it's expensive. So something which you don't like, just under peer pressure, don't do it. Don't buy a new camera lens because everybody else in your Jeep is buying in a trip that you made, right? You may not need to do all that. So be careful, make sure that your expenses spending are in line with what you think you want. Maybe you will want to buy your parents some expensive gift. If that's what gives you joy, do it, right? You don't have to buy just because your friends say it. You buy it because you enjoy doing it. Align your expenses to your thought process, to your thinking, etc. Then life is more fun, right? If you are not from a very rich family, start your emergency fund. Maybe you do 5,000 rupees SIP or a month into an ultra short bond fund or an equity savings fund and start putting away 5,000 rupees. Maybe end of 3 years you would have put 2 lakhs. and that's fine. After that it will also keep growing. Wherever you have kept it, it will grow at 5-6%. You may not need more. So starting an emergency fund is a very good step one. Now get rid of all the high interest debt. If you have school college fees debt, if you have any of the non-mortgage debts, if you have a housing debt, we'll not talk about that now, but a car loan, travel loan, fun loan, marriage loan, honeymoon loan, anything that you have taken, those interest rates are high. You're not going to get that kind of return in the markets, not on a sustainable basis. So get rid of all that. Make sure you opened your PF, your PPF and all those things. Your employer's matching contribution is coming, so make sure that that is done. In India there is not too much of a choice, but still there are people who opt out completely out of PF, right? So if you have completely opted out of PF, that's fine, but then you should at least start putting that much money in PPF. But because you're getting a contribution from your employer, it makes sense to be putting money in PF. It is not completely tax free, but it is still good, and by this time you would have increased your emergency fund. You will have maybe more than what you need. That's fine, you have done that also. Now go and check whether you need to do an SIP in a mutual fund to pay for your medical expenses, just in case it doesn't get covered by insurance. So let's say you are paying 40,000 rupees, 30-40,000 rupees per annum as medical premium. Start doing 30-40,000 rupees as a SIP per annum, which means 3-4,000 per month in a healthcare fund. Choose a healthcare fund and put it there, so that if there is a deficit in the money being reimbursed to you, you can take it from there and feel less bad about it, right? You don't need to take a bigger insurance. You start doing an SIP. Typically in America it's called the health savings account. I don't think we have any such terminology here, but just an SIP in any fund, largely any fund, could be a multi-asset, but I think if you put money in a healthcare fund, I have put money, I have benefited, but I'm not saying you will benefit because of that, but saying this fund is earmarked for my medical expenses over and above what my limit allows, right? Make sure that all your education loans are in good shape, that they have been serviced properly, that you can start repaying, right? So 7th or 8th year you should be finishing repaying. So even if you don't pay for some time, they don't bother you too much, but make sure that that loan is fully repaid before you commit yourself to a housing loan or things like that, right? Have your brokerage account, start your SIP, right? So your brokerage account, you can buy some share, some fancy 10 shares, top Indian fancy 10 shares on a regular basis, on the 10th of every month, 5th of every month, you could buy that. You could do SIP in a direct equity, or you could do SIP in an index fund. That is up to you. I'm not getting into what is good and what is bad. I'm just saying do it, because I'll do a video on whether you should do an SIP or whether you should, I mean, when you're saying whether you should invest in a mutual fund or should you invest directly, both have their pluses and minuses, no doubt about that. So now perhaps with all this in place, you're ready for a mortgage payment, right? Mortgage payout, you could mortgage paid down. So you make a pay down and you buy a house. What should be the size of the house? What should be the price of the house? Go into my videos. I'm not putting a link. Go into my videos and say 20, 30, 40 rule for buying a house. So go through that and say, okay, now I will start in putting money in a fund which will serve as a down payment after 4 years or 5 years. There I would slowly shift you from a lot of equity and little debt to a lot of debt and less equity, so that you accumulate that money, use that money for making the down payment, and see whether you can afford the EMI, right? Or whether you can afford the EMI, and then go ahead. There's no great hurry to buy a house. Everybody buys a house, so don't be in a hurry to buy a house. Make sure that all the processes, everything is done perfectly before you sign up for a house. Thank you.